Wealth whispers. Poverty shouts. This is not a metaphor. It is an observable pattern across centuries of accumulated capital. The truly wealthy have learned something the aspirational class has not. Silence is the ultimate luxury good. Walk through any billionaire enclave. Notice what you don't see. No gates with family crests, no marble lions, no gold-plated anything visible from the street. The entrance is understated, often deliberately nondescript. This is intentional design. It represents a fundamental understanding about power. Real power does not announce itself. It does not need to. The nouveau riche build monuments. Old money builds walls you cannot see. Consider the anxiety that drives display. When someone wears logos, they are seeking validation. They want witnesses to their worth. This reveals dependency on external confirmation. The ultra-wealthy have transcended this need. They know their worth. More importantly, the people who matter to them know their worth. There is no audience that requires convincing. This creates a paradox. The less you need to prove, the more you actually possess. The inverse is equally true. Status anxiety is a tax on the insecure. Silence is the refund. Every detail revealed is a point of leverage surrendered. The rich understand this instinctively. They have learned it through experience, through watching peers destroyed by exposure. Where you vacation, what you collect, who you know, these are not innocent facts, they are intelligence. In an age of data harvesting, privacy has become the scarcest resource. The wealthy pay extraordinary sums to disappear from databases, to scrub their digital footprints, to exist in documented ambiguity. They maintain multiple residences, but claim none publicly. They own through corporate structures with names that reveal nothing. They travel on aircraft registered to shell companies in jurisdictions that ask no questions. This is not paranoia, it is asset protection taken to its logical conclusion. Fame is the opposite of freedom. This is why true wealth avoids it. The famous cannot move through space without transaction. Every appearance becomes performance. Every public moment extracts energy. The famous are perpetually available for consumption. The ultra-wealthy have optimized for the opposite. They move through the world unrecognized. They sit in restaurants without being photographed. They attend events without being covered. This invisibility is purchased. It requires discipline. It demands that you resist the narcotic pull of recognition. Most people cannot do this. The ego craves acknowledgement like the body craves oxygen. To deliberately choose anonymity over fame requires a sophistication about what actually constitutes quality of life. The rich have made the calculation. They have chosen autonomy. There exists a language of refinement that functions as a recognition system. It is subtle. It cannot be purchased quickly. The right watch worn without ostentation, the bespoke suit with no visible branding, the educated reference dropped without explanation. These are signals sent between those who belong. Loudness is always vulgar. It demonstrates insecurity about being overlooked. True confidence presents itself quietly and trusts that those who matter will notice. This is why inherited wealth often dresses down. They have nothing to prove. Their networks were established at birth. Their worth is not in question. The newly wealthy often make the mistake of signaling too aggressively. They have not yet learned that the people they want to impress are not impressed by displays. They are impressed by discretion, by knowledge, by comportment. Refinement is encryption. It allows the initiated to recognize each other while remaining invisible to outsiders. Transparency is for the powerless. It is what you demand of subordinates, of regulated entities, of those from whom you need protection. The powerful have always operated through opacity. Their dealings occur in private rooms. Their negotiations happen beyond public scrutiny. Their influence is exercised through intermediaries. This is not corruption, it is strategy. When your wealth reaches a certain threshold, every decision you make affects markets, communities, political outcomes. To operate transparently would be to surrender control. It would invite interference, regulation, public opinion into private affairs. The rich have learned to conduct their lives like intelligence agencies conduct operations, through compartmentalization, through proxies, through carefully managed information flows. What the public knows is what they choose to reveal, and they choose to reveal very little. Social media promised democratization. It delivered surveillance capitalism. The truly rich understood this immediately. While the masses documented their every meal, their every thought, the truly rich disappeared from the digital commons. They maintain no public accounts. They appear in no tagged photographs. Their children's faces are not on Instagram. This creates asymmetry. They can observe without being observed. They can study patterns of behavior, consumer sentiment, cultural trends, all while remaining hidden. The illusion is that everyone is equally visible. The reality is that visibility is stratified. The poor perform their lives for free. The middle class performs for validation. The rich simply watch. Participation is for those who need something. Observation is for those who have everything. In any negotiation, the person who speaks first loses. The person who reveals most loses. The person who shows need loses. The ultra-wealthy have extended this principle to life itself. By saying little, they reveal nothing. By revealing nothing, they maintain maximum optionality. Consider the mechanics of high-stakes deals. Information is currency. Intention is leverage. The less counterparties know about your position, the better your eventual terms. This extends beyond business. It applies to social relations, family dynamics, political influence. The less people know about what you want, the less they can extract from you. Silence is not absence, it is presence in its most refined form. It is power conserved rather than dissipated. There exists a beauty in withholding. It is the opposite of abundance's display. It is the Japanese concept of ma, the space between things that give them meaning. A room with one perfect object is more powerful than a room filled with expensive things. A life with one perfect achievement is more meaningful than a life filled with publicized accomplishments. The rich collect experiences that cannot be photographed, relationships that cannot be quantified, knowledge that cannot be commodified. These things exist in the realm of the private, the interior, the silent. This aesthetic emerges from surplus. When you can have anything, what becomes valuable is restraint. When you can go anywhere, what becomes precious is the place no one else can go. When you can say anything, what becomes powerful is choosing to say nothing. We live in an age of compulsory visibility. Everyone is encouraged to share, to broadcast, to perform their existence for algorithmic approval. In this environment, silence has become the ultimate countersignal. It says, I do not need you. I do not need your approval. I do not exist in your awareness to know my own worth. This is not available to everyone. It requires resources. It requires security. It requires having solved the fundamental problems of survival and status. But for those who can afford it, silence is freedom in its purest form. The rich do not speak because they do not have to, and that is precisely why they remain rich. In a world that demands you exist loudly, the greatest privilege is to disappear completely.